Hi to everybody. I'm Stefano Serafini. I'm a professional trader. I'm working now for an HFT company. I was a banker before. My background is I have a bachelor in economics and a master in finance. And before I've studied IT, so it's the perfect mix for a professional trader. I've choose automatic trading due principally to the emotional effect that could affect most of trader. In fact, one of the biggest problem that you have at the early beginning is that if you are following your emotion, you are doing completely vice versa that when you study the market with some algos or trading system. Just for example, let's speaking about the stocks market in the US, you for surely know that you have to buy when you have a lot of weakness, and instead of if you are in front of the monitor and you are choosing with also emotional effect, you are going to sell instead of buying. So there maybe the most reason is you for the psychological effect. I used to work a lot, a reversal at the early beginning on the E-mini S&P 500 and in general stocks market. Then I turn on a trend follower or more trend follower trading system on commodities, especially in intraday. I use TradeStation for data feed. I think it's one of the best data feed that are in the market now, especially if we're talking about quality and price. For sure, there are a lot of more precise data feed, but the cost has no reason for a retail trader. So I use TradeStation as data feed, also as broker, but not a lot. The most I trade on Interactive Broker via using the multi-charts. So I got a VPS in Chicago, and so I have there the VPS with the three the data feed, the multi-chart, and interactive broker. I have attended only the first course of Andrea, just because I have attended his master in New York. Just I think the year before he started his online courses, so there was a lot of information already in the course in New York. So I only attempt the online courses, the first one for defining better the strategy and the pattern. But for the evaluation, I have my own background, also due for other traders that I've met in the past. So that's it. Well, the biggest problem that I had before attending this course was developing trend follower strategy, especially in intraday. And I have to say clearly that Andrea is one of the best trend follower strategy developer ever I have seen. So I had a lot of this problem because I was more concentrate on the reversal trading system. But for sure, I've noticed that in bad periods, especially when the market crash or high volatility period, I've suffered a lot with a reversal system. So I need to develop more trend follower strategy. So that's the main reason that I have to attend the course with Andrea. The solution that I have achieved with the course of Andrea is, as I mentioned before, is for sure develop intraday trading system, especially on commodities. I've already attempted other courses, but for sure you have to attempt the course of Andrea, especially because I'm following only concrete person that have demonstrated its capacity also with the World Cup Championship that he has won for 4 times. You have like a guarantee that you are following the right leader in terms of developing and developing strategies. Well, I have no doubt about Andrea courses. I've never had. Also, because if you travel around the world and you attempt other courses, you surely notice that the price is perfect in line with other courses around the world, or maybe cheaper because I've attempted more costly courses. So I've never had doubt about the course. Well, I have achieved a lot of goals. One of these is the World Cup Championship. I'm actually first with a performance of quite 200%. I was stable all the year, so I grew linearly with also a huge, quite a big drawdown, but this sort of things in competition could happen. So yeah, I have achieved a lot of goal after attending the course. As I mentioned before, especially in the trend follower strategies. Well, I already had good results in the last 3 years, but it became more stable, the returns, after attending the course with Andrea. It's mainly due of the period that when you have a lot of volatility there, the trend follower usually gains a lot instead of low volatility period that has more a reversal approach. So yeah, I have quite stable returns. You have not to have high how could I say, high expectancy of your returns. If you make a 15-20% per year is quite a lot on big accounts. So just only to remember that the performance of a competition is not the performance that you have on each account, also because you have high risk of ruin, and that's you're not managing your money like a competition. Well, the most impact, as I mentioned, is avoiding a high volatility period. So catching big trends with trend follower. Because when the volatility is high, you can catch much better the trend instead of low volatility period. So that's maybe the big improvement that I have had in the last 2 years. Well, the definition of the pattern and the way who Andrea is approaching the market, especially with the trigger, and then only after the setup, and so the word of the filter, it's for me one of the most thing that have impressed me. And I usually now, when I develop strategy, I look at good trigger, and also without filtering, the strategy should have a return, not so stable, but the return should be positive. And I suggest you to also use this approach, because you could go fast in overfitting if you do not have a good trigger, because the filter are only a setup or something that helps you to find better the breakout or the trade to take. But basically you have to have a good trigger. I recommend to everybody this course, especially because many times in finance and talking about trading, you are affected by the emotional, and so when you see a movement that repeats for the last 5 days and you are discretionary trading, you are trying to catch the same trade in the last 5 days. But if you try to test and see that for the other 10 years in the past year that have not run, that could a little bit impress you and be more realistic that you have to study the market before trading. So in my opinion, you have to study the movement and how each market has its own rules, and yeah, that's it. I recommend to everybody. Yeah, one of the recommendation is to follow concrete person who have demonstrated his capacity in the world of trading, and one of these is for sure Andrea Unger. And that's my personal approach to following leaders of the trading around the world. So don't follow person who are only talking and have never demonstrated his capacity. Well, in the World Cup Championship, I'm actually first with a performance of almost 200% over 1 year. I've started the competition with $15,000, and now the account is almost to 45,000. I've achieved during the year also 60,000. Then I got the drawdown, and it's quite normal to have drawdown all in a year. So also not so big. I have six strategy at the early beginning in the account, two based on a bias trading system, one on a breakout strategy, one a reversal, and one swing. So quite a mix of strategy. And on different markets, but mainly on commodities, gold, copper, and the reversal is on the E-mini S&P 500. Well, when I've earned a little bit of money, I have insert another strategy based on the fact that I could not concentrate the portfolio on the only six strategy. That's also because I use a technique of position sizing that is the fixed ratio, and so it was a choice to add a strategy instead of adding a new contract on the existing strategy. If I look back, I will go back and hold only the six strategy without adding the new one, because the new one got a lot of earn, but also a lot of drawdown. So yeah, that's the technique of fixed ratio is very useful to achieve high performance, but is also really dangerous in the drawdown side, because you are going down with more contract, and so you should have to add another technique to reduce more faster the contract in a drawdown period. Yeah, the strange thing is to define the drawdown. Well, the psychological effect is very high in a competition, especially because you are looking also to your competitors and see what they are doing and how they are or tending to see on which market they are trading. So for me, fortunately I've never had a lot of pressure from this psychological aspect, but I had it. So I've seen, for example, in the summer when the American guys has passed me with a performance of 800%, I was I had a little bit of pressure to increase more the contract. Fortunately, I've not done, because then it came a period of drawdown for both, and maybe the American has a bigger drawdown. I think his burnout, his account. So yeah, you have to have discipline on what you're doing, so not be affected by the psychological effect. Well, there are big differences between trading a competition account instead of a normal account. First of all, of the money that you're trading and the way you're trading, I have a risk of ruin in the competition that is higher than a 50% probability. I've never traded my own money, also the big money in the big account like this, like competition. You cannot have the expectation to double your capital each year. If you make 15 to 20% each year is far enough. So you have to manage the risk instead of managing the returns on big portfolio. Well, Um, if I went back, I will fix it more the strategy that are going well. I think that there are a lot of inertia in the trading system equity line. So system that tends to go well tends to go better in the early future instead of system that goes in drawdown. So yeah, that should be a thing that if I go back, I will change it. Well, I was invited since 4 years, but I've never had the right moment to do it, and this year was a right moment, also due to the experience that I achieved. Also because if you make a competition, you have to have a real money experience in the market. So yeah, it was a long time, but this year was the right year.